It's been quite an interesting year, a year where we have been having the biggest topics on this show, let's be real. And of course, it's 10 days to Christmas. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. I know that this would be towards our last show of the year. We'll be back next year, bigger, bolder, stronger.
Yes.
And after a holiday, Dr. C is going for a holiday, I don't know where.
I'm going for a holiday in the bottle, in the glass of...
Yeah.
You know the way they say, you create a storm in a cup.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be creating a storm in my glass of wine. Samantha Wines, I hope wherever you are, this is what you're having for Christmas
and New Year.
And New Year. Samantha Wines. This has been a great year.
It is.
For us at least,
Yeah.
in the wine business, and thank you, Kenyans.
Maria?
And I'm Maria. I'm about to say happy birthday, Jesus. But then again, I'm also telling myself happy birthday in 14 days. You're telling Jesus happy birthday in 10 days. You're telling me in 14 days.
Your mother did a good job. Alikuwa anangoja kidogo tu. And
Yeah.
we are also to see you, Charles Otieno, and we are saying it's interesting to be here.
Yeah.
But let's get into this thing. The biggest topics, Maria. Sarah Kabu.
Yeah, let's talk about Sarah Kabu. Okay, I think now she's preferred to be called Sarah Mtali. Yeah.
Mtali.
Yes, she's actually rebranded her name to Sarah Mtali. Yeah. Those are not those are not her official names, but she opted to be called Sarah Mtali, just to move on from what she's been going through. Sarah Kabu, I know the internet everyone has seen that she's been going through marital issues, and just to list a few, a video erupts of infidelity, and others say it's the nanny. Still, the story is not really as solid as we would want it to be. Then Sarah comes and introduces, these are my nannies, look. So the one I was beating is not the nanny. So she's trying to, in quote, tell us who that is. She said that they started this, she said that she left the husband, calling the home misery actually, in June till today. But right now the internet is finding out the situation. I think 2 or 3 weeks now, that is what has been trending. And I would like to know your opinion on that.
My opinion. I'll start. First of all, I have to say, this couple are my friends, and I'm from business. I particularly remember what stands out for me in 2007, when they were just starting the business.
Yeah.
One of my staff going to collect a check from their office, which was a cyber cafe. They just started the business from a cyber cafe. Kama wameparara, nini. And now they've made money and they've worked hard. I really respect their work ethic, actually.
I do, actually. I really do.
I really respect their work ethic. I'll mention on that. They have worked very hard. They've been my clients. They support us every year at the wedding fair. And they ran, for the longest time, no one could tell me anything wrong about this couple, and I believe. But for me, from what's happening is that 3 things actually stand out for me. The first one, I've always mentioned that people change, money changes people. Yeah. As we are aware, they officially declared their business now. They are officially billionaires. 1.5 billion is the turnover of their business. So they're officially in the
billion category.
Yeah, and we'll talk about the wealth report later, I hope. And I feel so that, I don't know where people will go to be schooled in the school of handling money, because I think on this platform I mentioned sometime that even in HR will not give you a job where you're supposed to be earning 4 million if only you've been earning maybe 40,000 or 400,000. Yeah. Then you're supposed now to start earning 4 million per month. Money changes people. And this is a really good example. But also what I think, the second point is being in business with your spouse. I think people really need to start thinking about it. I think part of the reason, because these problems have been around, there was a time even Sarah went into the media to say the man had actually gone off with the children and all that. So I think so that couples need to start thinking about, if you are in business with your spouse, how are you arranging everything so that when it comes to should, and God forbid that you have to separate, then it's just amicable. I know so many women who are stuck in loveless marriages, or even men in loveless marriages, because they see, when I look at this business, you mean maybe I'll get poor, you see, they have now to divide everything into two. So therefore, going into business with your spouse is something you really want to think about. But third, I'm just like, wow, she has really endured, and right now, I am just thinking it may not be the truth, the case. I think Simon must be the most hated man by women in this town.
Why?
Because how do you bring a side chick?
In our
I don't know
home.
if it was a side chick, allegedly. Even if she has left, surely. So whether umpangie uko nyumba ingine. But the other thing I must say, there's a hilarious thing about this. Did you see the clip where Simon is saying,
He's professional.
no, he's actually selling. In all these, I have to give it to them. They are all selling. Even Simon, there's a glare of cameras. He knows people are there. He's like, talking about their marital problems. In between, he's saying, by the way, Sarah, Apo, Sarah, did you see that clip?
Yes.
It was so hilarious. And I'm like, and even Sarah is selling. So if there's one thing they're intentional about, they're not becoming poor.
Before CEO goes, let me say something.
Yes.
Most of the couples who work together, they tend to forget cultivating on their marriages sometimes. And that's why it's easier for us to solve a business problem. Like if there's a crisis, let me use an example as me. If me and my husband have a crisis at work and we are fighting, it's easier for us to pause us to solve that crisis. And that is why we keep growing our wealth, but the marriage keeps deteriorating. Because right now, our wealth needs to go high because the business can't stop for anyone. We know we have salaries, we have things to pay, bills, and we also need to make this business big. But when it comes to our marriage, from one problem, it keeps increasing, the second, the third, the fourth, because we don't have that time for marriage. And most of the time, the easiest thing to let go in a relationship of both business and work is always marriage. And that's why the business will still flourish. Sarah will come and say her problems and still say and book that holiday from Bonfire. I like this part whereby they had this holiday last year of Okoa Ndoa na Bonfire.
No, what I like about Simon is the way he says, Jabo Jabo, Jabo Jabo. Jabo Jabo. I like it. I like it. But there's something I've learned about it, that all that glitters is not gold.
Yeah, it's not.
And I've always told people that if you follow celebrities who keep plastering you with images of love, travel, and all that, be very cautious, because some of them are in trauma bond. Some of them are actually in a trauma bond.
It's actually a job.
It's a job. They might be unhappy, and you are pushing your wife or your husband behind the scenes. Can't you see the way these guys are happy? You are making money and you are not everywhere. You are not posting me. You are not doing what? But some people are posting each other, but they are having the nastiest fights behind the scenes. If the cameras are just withdrawn, it's a whole different scenario. So it is always good to, as a family, decide on how you want to live with you. Don't follow people's social media and think that's how things are. Because it might be all glittery, but it's not gold. But what I have to give this couple is that they have really worked hard towards their money, and they have a lot of it. But also, they should have learned that when you have a lot of money, there's a lot of challenges which come with it. And they were not ready for those challenges. They were not ready You see, the biggest problem is that not earning money, is spending money. And that's where all these problems begin, is how are we spending this money? Probably the man will start spending money on side chicks as well. And you, as a woman, women are very good at keeping their money. They will make sure they look at their kids and say, my kids are not yet even in high school. I need to take them to better colleges. I need to do what? I struggled. I didn't go to a good university or abroad. And the man is thinking, me, I've made enough money. I can make more. Why can't I spend on someone who needs only 10 or 15,000? And by the way, before you get this money, you could only attract very poor women. But now you're attracting high flyers. And you want to show that you've made something.
But you know, on that note,
Yes.
talking of high flyers, the other thing that this Sarah Kabu and Simon has brought into focus, because Sarah was, I think she used to work for an NGO.
Yes.
Alikuwa na kazi. She was the money person.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I've seen that has come up in a big way is when you take a man and lift him up. What is it called? Lifting him up. Should women, I think that has really, it's one of the biggest things women are discussing now online. This girl took this man, dusted him, and now see. And then also how vicious Kenyan women are when it comes for going after a man with money.
That's the point. So you dust him and then they come. It's not like you dust him and then they come. But they could not collect him to dust him. No, they're waiting for you to dust him. Then they come for him. It's more, some women are lazy. And you know the worst part is what? You are the one who dusted him, and when you're up there with him and he loves you, okay, maybe showing, fake or not, he loves you, people would be like, this man has made it. They forget the woman's struggle and everything.
So
They'll be like, this man has made
struggle. In that struggle, even as we struggle behind the scenes.
Behind every successful man,
There's a woman.
Sarah could have.
there is a woman involved.
Yes, and you know the thing is, you know when you say you marry potential. So the thing is,
You marry a potential.
you marry potential, and look where potential is getting women. Yeah.
You rather just marry an established one.
But now an established one will just act as if you found me like this.
Yeah, but so the thing, what we are talking about in essence is we have to pray for families. Families are in danger in Kenya. Like it's a crisis. For like, if you do nothing this Christmas, let us pray for families.
I agree. I think
Families are breaking.
you've summed it up very well. Let's pray for families, and we hope that Simon and his jabo will be okay, and Sarah too. What are the greatest topics of this year?
Yeah, okay. One of the greatest topics that stood out for me is testing a man's anger. And this comes at a very good point when gender-based violence is a topic at the moment. And we say this, actually, it is not far off. It's the middle of the year when we say that when a man, if you test a man's anger before you get there, it will be easier for you to know if this person can break a glass, then your head is next. If this person raises his voice, then you know that he vents. Or if he walks out, then comes back okay, comes back for a communication, then this is someone who knows how to cool himself. On the anger, that is one topic that actually got a good reaction even online. And I really hope people are doing that.
Testing men's angers. For me, yeah, it may have stood out, but also I think a question that I want to throw back to you is about the happiness index of the country.
Yes.
Yeah. I think people are so angry, and one of the things you use to measure if a country is developing or not, people was, a lot of institutions were using the GDP. GDP means how much money is in everyone's pocket, right?
Yeah.
Is that the GDP?
GDP is a gross domestic product of every individual brought together into a national grid.
Yeah, so international grid. It means if you were to divide everything, how much will one person have, right?
No, that's yeah, it's not, basically it means that if you divide amongst the people, what you're generating as a country
Yes.
works a level. Like, for
Yes.
example, the growth rate. Our GDP grows by 5%.
5%.
This last year it was around 4.6.
Yes.
So this year, with a slight growth to around 5, we project it to end at around 5%. So every year, the country grows, and that's what it can be taken to every
Yeah.
individual.
So a lot of institutions use GDP to measure if a country is growing or not.
Yeah.
But increasingly, very many countries are actually adding on to that the happiness index. The last time I looked at it was Bhutan. Government, a country called Bhutan, it is the one that had the highest happiness index. And I think at this time, I would love for a happiness index to be done on Kenya. I see, like, I saw the other day the World Bank had downgraded the growth projections for Kenya to 4%. Last year they had put it at 5%, yeah, and now they downgraded it to 4%. And at what point are we going to get to measuring the happiness index? Because I think Kenyans are very unhappy lot.
They are.
They are a very unhappy lot. This year alone, we've seen so many suicides actually happening. We've seen so many cases of domestic violence. We've seen so many cases of femicide. Could this be a manifestation of that? So because even if you test a man's anger or a woman's anger before you marry them, you know, there are all these other underlying issues. I think, what do you guys think about the Kenyan happiness index?
Kenyans are not happy. They are not happy at all. Look, the economic status, the unemployment rate, the school fees going high, and other activities of schools being paid for now. The food availability, everything has gone so high, and they don't have jobs. And the overtaxing, Kenyans are not happy. The health status of the country. If we dare measure the happiness index of Kenya, I think negative is the best value we can bank on right now.
Theo, what do you think?
Basically, what I would say is that when I look at the country and base it on the happiness report, is that most of individuals in this country do not have money. Our biggest issue is the cash crunch. Many individuals, like for example, if you look at President Ruto's regime, his biggest undoing is heavy taxation. Number 2 is lack of payment of pending bills. And all these bills people had taken, and that brings to that happiness report. You take your money, you go take a loan, bank, you supply the government, and you're never paid. If you look at the pending bills, it's around, almost now in Kenya, around $1 trillion of people's money which the government owes. So if you look at that money, it's too much. And people have been auctioned, people have lost their livelihoods and all that because they took money to supply government with stuff and they were never paid. So others have died, others have committed suicide. So that brings our happiness index down. But the president, on the other hand, has done a very good thing on production and lowered the cost of production of stuff. Now,
for example, I'm in business. I'm not aware of
the
anything.
production,
Electricity is
like
still high.
the production, for example, of food. You realize that when Uhuru left, unga was around 170, but Kenyans could afford it. 200. Yeah. The Kenyans could afford it because they had money.
There was money.
But now it's 100, but Kenyans can't afford it. It
because
means
that other 100 is doing something else.
The person who was selling it at 200 had put money in the pockets of the people. But this one has lowered the production of food products, but you can't afford it.
But I think what we really need to interrogate is what is the real reason the food costs have gone down? Is it really truly that it's possible that the cost of production is down, yes, but is it possible if the news reports in newspapers and the mainstream media, if those reports are to be believed, is it true that we have some illicit food coming in? Just yesterday, yes, there was the illicit rice from Pakistan that has come in, it was rejected. So that ship was commandeered, dock in Kenya. And KEBS issued a warning that there is toxic rice on the market.
The problem is that we have greedy politicians.
Yeah.
All this thing is a cartel of individuals who import. We know a cartel. I always tell people that if you want to die very quickly in this country, don't take breakfast. Just take breakfast. Breakfast means that go and investigate the people who supply things to eat for breakfast. Tea, sugar, coffee. All those things you put in that tea or sugar or what, you'll be killed because it's a cartel. Now, they have added now even other products like rice. Remember the sugar which came had mercury. The cooking fat which was brought the other time round was not
Rancid.
fit.
It was already rancid.
Yes, it was not fit for human consumption.
Aflatoxins on flour.
So it is crazy. So people are out here, they do not care of the health of the nation. They care about their pockets. And they're few.
There are few people. So that's why even that farmer cannot afford, because are they even able to sell?
But
it was more
we are
expensive.
importing that million of rice. Okay, first of all, KEBS are informers. They inform, but do they take action? I would like to see them take action. But this is another
thing. How do you take action against the person?
And that's the point. So it means KEBS was not paid well to keep quiet. This is another thing. Now, there is rice in the country. Why are we importing millions of kgs of rice?
Because it's someone's business. It doesn't
Now,
matter.
I think that's the problem then. Because we have a lot of rice in the country.
Yes, yes.
We have a lot of rice.
But this brings us, the topic, really, one of the big things that has been discussed is the presidential term limits. And when you look at what is going on with these things of rights and all that, everybody wants to become rich. Do you think this economy can take in another regime that will also want to eat? Or should we maintain the people who've eaten?
But they have not eaten. I understand what you're saying.
You understand?
And I understand what you're saying. Actually, I understand what you're saying, and I feel like it's true. Whoever will come next will also want to eat. So we keep the ones who have already eaten. But now the point is this. They are getting more greedy. They are overeating.
Yeah,
like, if we promise to keep you longer, can you eat in moderation? That should be the question.
Because if you're going to have rice that is like this, how far are people willing to get just because they are in power or they are near power? The fact that you can actually bring in that kind of rice at Christmas time,
that they were ready to eat.
When some families can only eat rice once a year. Do you get what I mean?
I'm just thinking of when you're saying that you keep people eating. I remember a poem, a Ugandan poem, Building the Nation. I think very many people in formative years read the Ugandan poem Building the Nation by
Oh, today I did my part in Building the Nation.
Yes.
That was Russian.
No.
Was it Ugandan?
It's Ugandan.
What was the name of that writer?
It's called Barlow somebody, but Building the Nation, and the guy, the chauffeur, both of them were yawning. The guy was yawning at the back of the car because of our feeding, and saying, today, I feel so bad. I've really built the nation. But the driver was also yawning because of hunger. Both of them. And he was left outside, and this guy had a 5-course meal. And the driver did not eat anything. But both of them were saying we're hungry after building the nation. So we are building the nation.
No, we are not building the nation.
What was that other Russian said?
I feel like...
Government inspector.
Government inspector. That one was done
Nikolai Gogol.
Gogol, yes.
Yeah, I thought it was Nikolai Gogol
No,
who
Nikolai
wrote...
Gogol, no. That you're talking about Lestakov and the rest. Yes.
She's a Gen Z, she's like, what the hell are you talking about?
No, but these are books you can read.
Yeah.
Easy.
Yeah, okay. So, so you guys, in terms of what stood out for you?
Of course, number one is the Gen Z.
Gen Z was a big story.
For me, first of all, hats off for the Gen Z. They made the country realize that even if you're going towards the wrong direction, we can make a stop and change the course of this nation. Number one. Number two, Gen Zs also made us realize that if people come together, they can put their government into account and make government really work for them. But what Gen Zs should have also known that you need to be organized. You cannot always remain amorphous, because when you're amorphous, people can divide you very easily. If they had a structure behind it, all that positive energy which they brought, and you could see it influenced the whole of Africa, it influenced the whole world, and people are talking about Kenyan Gen Zs standing up for their future. And that's the key thing. People must realize this is our future. You want better governance, you need better roads, education, medical, and hospitals. You need things which can make you grow. And that's what but also on the flip side, we have to mention that the government really reacted badly. And we have to say that you do not kill innocent protesters who breach the parliament. It is just immoral for the government to react to kill people's kids who are harmless because they've invaded an institution which can only be repaired. I found it totally stupid to kill people in the parliament buildings, and it was uncalled for. Yeah.
But also, I think for me, in that story, that particular story, what really did stand out for me is the fact that Kenyans realized that actually we can move on without Raila.
Yes.
We can move on without Raila, and we can organize ourselves.
Yeah.
And that was a major thing in terms of united we actually stand.
Yeah.
And may the souls of the departed, the
young men
Gen
and
Zs,
women,
may their souls really rest in peace, and really, really deep condolences to the families that lost their loved ones out of this fight. I really hope it was not in vain. I really hope that as a country, we can really realize and, move forward. Really move forward as a country in a more positive way. We can be our brothers' keepers.
Yeah.
So for me, that's all I have to say on this story.
Okay.
For me, the Gen Z, that what stood out is the support of the parents. These kids were supported by parents, the public went and joined them in the streets. That was nice. You would see people joining them and helping them. For them getting, also the iPhone, KFC and Java story also stood out for me, that they were eating so well and walking around protesting with iPhones. That was they made a joke out of it, but it became world news, and that was good. But also, for those who lost their lives, I would really, really like to send my condolences and tell them may they rest in peace, and they are unspoken heroes. Yeah.
I thought you were taking us to
I'm
the
taking
break.
on a break.
Before you take us to
yes.
the break,
Yeah.
I actually want to say that one of the things I personally was happy with this revolution, the Gen Z's revolution, is the fact that the Gen Z's realize the decisions that are being made right now is going to influence how they are going to create wealth.
Yeah.
I always say my president, who laid the foundation for me to create wealth, actually was Kibaki.
Yeah.
And each generation needs to check which president is their president. So my president was Kibaki. He laid the foundation for me creating wealth. And now the Gen Zs are actually they're owning up, realizing that, oh my goodness, we need to vote. We need to, because these people there's a generation that has just gotten into employment, who are just getting
they are the ones who are getting into employment and finishing college
and just
now.
realizing, my goodness, there are no jobs. So I'm happy that they are actively taking up that role and holding the leaders accountable, because my generation did not.
Yeah.
I think no, the generation did.
In our own way.
No.
Saba.
The biggest generation, every generation has contributed
Okay.
towards growth of a nation. The oldest generation were the Mamao fighters. They fought for freedom. Then the other generation fought for repealing of the Section 2A, and that's why you came to multi-party democracy. Before that, this country couldn't even speak.
And freedom of speech.
Yes, you couldn't speak, you couldn't say, you couldn't play music, you couldn't do anything against it. People fought, people died for that. Those young men of those years, the people we celebrate now, they were called the Young Turks.
Oh, the Young Turks, yes, I
They
was alive,
really
yes.
fought for this country.
Martin Shikuku was a Young Turk.
No, them they were the people who fought for repealing of the
Political parties.
parties, yeah.
Yeah.
But the Young Turks were the Orengos, the Anyona, the seven bearded sisters, and also Ruto wasn't there.
He was.
Ruto was a student. Isaac.
Oh, Isaac Ruto.
Isaac.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Him, he was Y20 what? What
The
was
other
it called?
one, Youth for Kano 92, that's William. So you have to, and then the other generations came in, and now Gen Z. What we ask Gen Zs, that thing you did, can you go and do it in 2027?
But there's a cousin will.
Okay, let's take a short break. We'll be right back on Let's Be Real. Welcome back. I hope you're enjoying the show, and I hope you're also taking the recap with us because it was a great year. Yes, and let's dive in to the next topic that stood out for you, Dr. Silis.
Yeah. So for me, the topic that really stood out for me, and it's still on my head, is the Knight Frank report on the Knight Frank's wealth report. Knight Frank is a real estate company. I think they're based in Kenya here, and they're all over the world. And all over the world, they do the wealth report, and they look at how is the wealth moving. So in Kenya, they rank the dollar millionaires. Dollar millionaires means, other than your place of residence, do you have liquid assets? I have to correct, liquid assets in form of fixed accounts, or in form of shares and bonds that you can mobilize within the next 48 hours if need be. Quickly you can mobilize, not necessarily 48 hours. So liquid. And this year in Kenya we had 7,000, which was an increase from previous years. $7,000 millionaires. But I saw what they did. They also included your primary residence, if it's worth more than $1 million. And so that was up from last year. And they said this shows the confidence that investors have, and investors all over the world have actually realized that risk is everywhere. So Africa is not different. And because this compares very much also around the world, how the wealth is moving. And they looked at what are the things that are driving the wealth. Real estate, things like environment. Our president had taken a lot of measures to sensitize Kenyans, but also hosting the climate change thing. But also in terms of what is going to be driving wealth in the future is in terms of how environmentally friendly are you, from the buildings you're making to all that. But why this actually stands out for me, and as a business person, is the irony of it all. That people are getting richer, the dollar millionaires, but the grassroots is actually they're not at ease. They are getting poorer. And the fact that I've seen several reports, business reports, that people are actually getting poorer. This wealth report is normally done across the year, so sometime in March next year, we're going to see the 2025 report. No, 2024 report, because the one of this year was measuring the wealth report of 2025. I'm just wondering how it's going to be in terms of what the projections are because already the World Bank has downgraded Kenya's growth rate. CEO, what do you think?
You see, the World Bank uses different measurement units when they are looking at a country. For them, basically, it's a financial health. But remember, wealth is not only financial. Wealth can be primarily on land, on buildings, and on our traditional setups. There are people who have traditional wealth, which is you have 1,000 acres of land and you've put 10,000 cows. And each cow is 80,000. They are big bulls. They are the Sahiwals, the what? You understand? Or they are the Doba sheep Uhuru Kenyatta has.
I saw Ahmed Nasir saying,
yes,
you can vaccinate all the animals, but when you come to my camels, there I see you. Yes, how many camels?
1,000 above.
Yes, 1,000 and above camels. And
yeah, there are many.
Yeah.
So,
I wonder if they measure that.
Make a lot of money.
Yeah. With what?
Each camel is
the milk.
The milk, it's very.
The meat.
Yeah.
Does the milk taste like normal milk?
I drink hemo milk.
Does it taste like cow milk?
It doesn't taste like cow milk. It has some taste there. It's a bit, it's not like, cow milk is very gentle. When you drink camel milk, you'll know. It's a bit
also
harsh.
good for the skin.
It's
Some
good
of
for
the
the
very
skin,
expensive cosmetics are made from
camel, yes.
Yeah.
So I would say that there are two things when you look at the wealth report. The rich are getting richer, the poor are getting poorer. Why? Because there are people who are either landowners, building owners and all that, and there are people who are workers or people who do manual jobs. Those are the ones who are being laid off because of this tax regime. But there are few people, I can tell you next year that our wealth report will show that we have more even billionaires, because some people have really made money this year. We say make use of your crisis to make money, and they made a lot of it.
In what sectors?
In what sectors? Because I feel like every sector in this country has been affected. Even the business people have been complaining. And the reason why they are doing these major measures is because of how much they are making in their businesses.
Remember that there are people who do what we call businesses which you can see. And others, like the biggest business today in this country, you've seen many young boys. How many young boys have you seen flaunting money of late?
And where is the money coming from?
That's another thing I would like to know.
Yeah.
How many have you seen? There are very many.
And buying expensive cars and living large.
But
what kind of business is that?
The thing is, I also forgot to say
Yes.
that one of the things that has actually caught my attention, one of the big stories, is the sinful, and I want to say sinful, profits banks are making. Even the other day, I actually walked into my bank manager's office and I told her, please, can you tell your seniors to find a more elegant way of telling Kenyans how they made 68 billion in terms of profits. But even though they made it legally and all that, because the fundamentals are completely wrong. Because if you go, say, let's just descend on a township, say like Kitengela, just Kitengela alone, there are so many informal workers there. And can you imagine at the end of the month, when they get paid, everybody is liquid. They go into the shops, into the supermarkets, everything, shop up, pay rent and everything. So this money is supposed to go up to this middle. This middle is then enabled to then pay the government, which is the biggest spender. Now even the government itself is collecting less tax, less everything, because this bottom is disabled, because this middle
I think what is happening is the middle class is, the gap between the rich and the poor is too much. Like we don't have a lot of middle class right now. I think that is one of the major problems. And that's why the rich will be richer and the poor will be poorer. Because right now, the poor, we had less poor people. in the past regime than we have right now. Right now, it's difficult.
But you all can afford healthcare now.
Which health?
Which health
But by the way, Dr. C,
Which health care?
Devil's advocate.
let me shock you that KRA actually recently also published their report that they have surpassed
From where?
their tax collection.
Okay, I
from
feel like
last
I'm
year.
the one in the dark with where the money is coming from in this country.
They have surpassed.
You know, when I saw that report, I saw it, but I
Yes.
compare it.
Yes.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine? You say are looking after a car. You're in charge of cars.
Yeah.
Okay? So you come in because the previous person was fired because he was spending too much on cars. They were fired. Okay? Maintenance of cars, ensuring they're roadworthy and everything. You come in and you don't do any of the road maintenance, nothing of the above, but you say, look, at the end of the year, I didn't spend anything on the cars. That guy who was before me was spending so much more. You go on for another 2 years, you find that now all those cars must be written off because in the last 2 years, you've not been servicing or maintaining them. That could be what we are dealing with.
Yeah.
Do you think the number of corporates that have left this country, the number of businesses that are closing every day? Anyway,
And civil
always say,
servants are not even getting paid. How are we getting so much? Anyway, let's go to the next topic. Let's talk about vaccines now. Bill Gates came this year and he wanted to vaccine our cows. Yeah. On the same topic of vaccine, we also had shortage of vaccine for children. Yeah, this year we talked a lot about vaccines. I will start with the vaccines for children. It got to a point whereby this country was struggling, whereby both the public and the private were not having enough vaccine to vaccine the kids, knowing very well that this was very paramount to the children's health, having that we had already done our best to eradicate polio, we were at risk of
Falling back.
That was one. And now the cows, people's cows to be vaccinated. That is one thing that stood out, but also at the same time, they've not been vaccinated. We're still taking milk. Dr. C, what do you think?
I'm going to give a professional opinion as a veterinary surgeon and a rural development expert. Okay? So, as a veterinary surgeon, I agree and I understand that animals need to be vaccinated. There are certain diseases that we must vaccinate. The other day, the World Veterinary Association declared they had eradicated rinderpest in the whole world, which we called the East Coast fever. But there are so many other transboundary diseases that animals must be vaccinated against. Now, what happened in the case of Kenya is that there was a central government that was in charge of animal health. Now, round about the beginning of the year 2000, in fact, I was part of that project that privatized the veterinary services. Then I worked at the EU. And so the farmer was literally like left on their own. Deal with your vet across there. And so the national vaccination program was actually affected. Now, what is the effect of when we are not eradicating some of these things because we are not sticking to the program of vaccinating? It means we cannot export our meat in certain markets like the EU. We cannot export our meat to markets that, like the Middle East, which is a big market anyway. And animals just die, just die off. And, don't forget pastoralists actually usually depend on the animals. So I think so that it's a good idea to vaccinate the animals and to carry out a nationwide. This is a central government's job to do. Now, I'm also awake to the fact that there are some conspiracy theories. I saw a lady come up and say, there are MRN, GMO, what. There's no scientific basis to whatever it is she was saying. So we have to be aware of conspiracy theories that are there. That said, why people are actually talking about animals being vaccinated it's just the loss of faith, perhaps in the government, and the budgets we are talking about. The budgets are a little bit raising flags, and the fact that all over the world there's been misconceptions about GMOs. There's been conspiracy theories
GMO is a
around
misconception.
COVID. It's not. There's a place for GMO, and there's a place where it shouldn't be. You know, I have a problem when the farmer needs to depend on you, when we have to lose our own seeds. I grew up with my grandmother keeping her own seeds to plant maize. What do you mean she cannot do it anymore?
That's a problem.
Yes, I have a problem with the fact that for you even to plant those seeds now, you, like, for example, need a license. There were so many conspiracy theories around COVID, and there's so much that we don't know. So yeah, people have a right to
question.
And when we have our Kenya Bureau of Standards, KEBS, questioning that we have fake rice with aflatoxins and issuing a public report, it means we are not safe. So is it possible that these vaccinations maybe now I'm not speaking as an expert, I'm speaking now as on the conspiracy theory, that is it
Dr.
possible?
C, are you speaking now as you?
Now I'm commenting on the conspiracy theories.
All right.
The fact that there's so many conspiracy theories online that for ordinary mortals who did not go to school, the School of Veterinary Medicines, and did pharmacology and whatever it is that we had to do to graduate, it's very easy to believe those things.
So I agree with you in your expert analysis. But my problem with the whole this vaccination saga is that the place of Bill Gates in it.
Yeah.
The place of Bill Gates. And you know, why I have a problem with the place of Bill Gates is because if they're saying that we are going to vaccinate our cows, and I agree, animals must be vaccinated because of one, rinderpest. And I'll give you a very brief history. The Luo migration was actually started because of rinderpest, from where they lived in Barargazal, because rinderpest wiped all the Luo cows. And then we called the nilotics, we call it that the nilotics have what we call the cattle complex. Every nilot, if you look at the Turkana, the Maasai, they have the Kalenjin, they have large herds of animals because you are really animal keepers. The Luo, being among them, lost all their animals, and they moved from that cattle complex into what we call a mixed farming, and they went into fishing and other things. But rinderpest was the biggest thing because they never ever vaccinated their animals, so they lost a lot of it. And that's what brought that 1000 AD, their migration from Baralgazal southwards to where in Uganda, Congo, and many other places. But my question is that if these animals, they are going to be vaccinated, the cow vaccination in Kenya, number one, the African animals only contribute 4% of methane in the air. Only 4%.
How is vaccination related to methane?
Because they are saying that the new vaccination is to control the animals in the world are releasing a lot of methane in the air.
But vaccination is against infectious diseases.
I'm just giving you why. If it was the normal vaccination.
So they want to kill, in other words.
They want to reduce the methane which these cows will be emitting.
But then they don't need vaccination. They just need to be fed or something. Are they injecting new
Can
DNA?
they find a way to just reduce the methane in the air instead?
No, and that's what we're saying. And the question,
Like a plant that can be
and the
planted.
question we've
They
been
can come up
asking,
with something like
the
that.
question we've been saying is, why can they start in New Zealand, for example, where this is a real problem? Because they have more herds of animals than us. You understand? If it is a normal vaccination, we welcome it. If Bill Gates wants to vaccinate animals to reduce methane, he can start in the first world country, but not in Kenya. But if you're coming to vaccinate, if our president is genuinely coming to vaccinate animals, let's vaccinate animals. But we are not going to allow to be used again. Like those guys who came here in Kenya to...
Sam Altman.
To do the iris. So we want to do another thing with the cows again. As a test so that you can take it to the Western world. And our cows only contribute 4%. Why can't we start with the guys who contribute 95%?
Yeah, we should start there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so can we go to the Gonga story? I feel like we should go lighter. We have not gone lighter today. Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
clearly.
Gonga story, yeah. So you tell us about Gonga.
Kugongewa ni?
Unagongewa ni constant, lakini kugongewa si mayai. You know, my friend Charlene there knows what kugonga is. But let me tell you, this man called Egonga, if he comes to Kenya today, I know Kenyan
women will be in the airport. Kababa, I'm here.
Yes, they will be coming to see him. But 400 women, as Simon said, 400 women cheated on their husbands.
No, but some of them are single. Let's not say that all the time.
It was extortion.
Yeah.
I think it was extortion. He was extorting them, but now he's also being extorted because really, truly, he stood in the way of power, and he may have influence. It's a very small country.
Yeah.
So the whole idea was to paint him as a very irresponsible person. There's a lot of politics. I read a lot of politics.
Yes,
He's sick, number one, mentally. Number two, there's a political play in it.
Yeah, but in Kenya, kugongewa is there.
Yeah.
So please avoid kugongeana.
Yeah. But honestly speaking, I don't think in Kenya we can do that. That is not right. One man cannot do that with a quarter of the population of women. Anyway, now, can we finish the day with Kababa?
That thing is the most nonsensical thing that happened this year.
Actually, I think that is one of the most irrelevant thing to have happened this year. Like calling men
Dr. T was
Kababa
asking
was
people, who is Kababa?
And I'm wondering, like, where, in what universe
do you call a man Kababa?
Is this thing happening in? Because in my world, what is Kababa?
Yeah.
Surely.
Like, in which universe?
And it was a big
I have
thing.
never heard of it.
It was a big thing. It trended a lot, but I hope right now you're not calling them Kababa. Hope right now you are making them responsible for other things and choices. Yeah, because Kababa, it was big, but it wasn't a good thing. And I have not found any woman who says that I am okay calling men Kababa, except the one who made the video of calling them Kababa. And I think that's why a lot of men tuned in.
So for me, on that story of Kababa, I think what really literally stood out is the fact that so many celebrity couples are separating.
Yeah.
There's a lot more of that than...
People should learn to cultivate their marriage and not their appearance on social media.
So there are two things also, I think, ladies, we are forgetting. One is that it's December. Kutuma fare is constant.
There is a fair economy.
There's a fair economy. So now, I will tell young men out there, clearly, usiambiwe utume fare all the time.
Ndio kuja kwa village.
Yes.
Umuonyeshe
village.
Mwende mali yako, it's cheaper.
Eh?
Mwende, it's much cheaper.
But the fair economy is so big in this country.
Yeah.
And also, I told young men the other time that, which was an issue, that do not educate a woman and think she will stick with you. Some of them, after they go for better men.
You've made
Never
them better.
forget.
You've made them a better person. You're not their type anymore.
Yeah, they get a better type.
Yeah.
And you said you only employ...
Oh yeah, for me, the other thing, actually, you viewers, when camped in my social media on my Facebook page, and complained, some were endorsing me the fact that I do not employ house girls who are less than
40 years.
40 years old. That is my choice. because I find that, a job, being a home keeper, I would like to say a home manager, we call them that these days. It's a very responsible job. It's a really good job. And there are some employers who pay much more than even the office workers earn. And it's nothing to be looked down upon. It's a good job, as good as nursing, as good as even being an office assistant or any other, even a manager. Yeah? And therefore you want somebody who is responsible. But I had got all sorts of comments, including what stood out for me is like, what has Dr. C ever done other than marrying that
White Mzungu.
that white Mzungu who put her in a beautiful house and she got an honorary degree? No, I actually went to school for 4 years. I've done a lot of, I have an MBA. I've done a lot of many other courses. I don't even dare to list them here. A lot of experience,
So in short, you're saying that it is not the white man who made you who you are. You made yourself.
I made myself. I'm a Kenyan success story.
Okay.
Another thing that I would like us to take note on this December actually is to drive safe. Road accidents are becoming too much to hear, and there's no one rushing you. Don't be in a hurry. Go slow. You'll get there, and always ensure that you're on the road, because at the end of the day we need you here next year to help us build the economy. That is very important.
And on that note, I realize when you're on these roads, imagine it's the drivers who actually cause most of these accidents. People are crazy. Why do you drive like that? Like, have you been on these roads really? Oh my God, don't drive like that. And the best day, by the way, to drive, if you're going anywhere, is on the 25th. There is no one on
Actually,
the roads.
I travel on 25th.
There's nobody on the roads.
And the last thing I want to say on the year was that I remember that the ladies who serve people in the cabin were up against me. I made a statement on this show. They're claiming that they don't do not so much that any other thing, but they were up in my inbox saying they do safety, they do what, they check, they help and all that. But I said, it's okay, you can maybe be doing that, but on top of that, what else do? You are called to serve.
Yes, just like even the home managers.
Yeah.
They're actually glorified waiters.
Yeah, you're called to serve.
The cabin crew, right?
Yeah.
Because it's service.
You're called
And
to
there's
serve.
nothing wrong
What
with being a waiter.
What do they do about safety? I would like to know, what are they doing about safety?
They
They take the
educated
microphone
me.
and tell us
They
things.
educated me on safety. They educated me on when you are sick on board, they are the people who take care of you. They are like nursing you. They have basic first aid.
Yeah, they've put it under the say,
So-
throw up here.
So service is just a byproduct
Yes.
Yeah.
of what they actually
No,
do.
I
Some
think
of them
service-
are qualified nurses, doctors.
Yeah.
Is it true?
Yes.
Or they're just coming at you? There's a difference. They might be coming at you, but they're just glorified waiters at the end of the day.
So I will not say that nowadays.
No, you
But
don't.
what's wrong with being a
nowadays,
waiter?
Nowadays, you're not saying that. Nowadays,
What's wrong with
There's
being a
nothing wrong
waiter?
with being a waiter. My point is why you are attacking someone for mentioning your job. That's my point. He said you are. Okay, now he's calling them offering service. Oh.
They're offering
See, you
service.
offend me. I'm coming to your inbox. It works.
It's high time we actually begin to
Yes.
give respect
To every job.
to all professions.
Yes.
Yeah, because there's nothing wrong with managing a family. It's a big job, and honestly,
it's really
yes,
big.
it's a really big job, and those ladies or the men who do actually deserve respect. It's a really big job to serve people, whether it's on the plane
But
or
they
it's in
don't
a
want
restaurant.
to be said they serve.
But service to everybody.
That's
like,
their problem. Their main problem is you people only notice service. So right now, if you want to define them, start with there are people in the airplane who are nurses taking care of us.
Yes,
and our
security.
safety. You list all their qualifications, and that's what makes
the
them
last
happy.
The last one
Eh.
is on waiting. The top ones are the other ones.
The other ones.
Yeah.
The last one is, now you are focusing on the last one. That is their problem.
That's
But
the
the
problem.
way we actually put it, like glorified waiter, it's a bit demeaning. And anyway, if you have a friend who is rude to waiters and watchmen, don't do business with them.
They are bad people.
They're bad people.
Well, it has been real.
And Merry Christmas.
It's been
Happy
real.
birthday. Oh, let's not forget that.
It's your birthday.
My birthday is going to be in 14 days, and you're going
my
to say the
goodness.
car.
I'll bring you a small car, a toy.
Oh, can I say something before
Yes.
I forget? I don't know if our viewers have noticed. I don't have a gap anymore.
What
I
happened?
can smile from here to here. So my dentist, actually the other day, they just won a prize for the most digitally enabled. That's Arrow Dental. Yeah? And I noticed a lot of women, especially my age, they lose this tooth. Yeah, so it can be replaced. Can you see?
Oh, you
You never noticed I had a gap? The one I was telling the cameraman, please don't focus here. Don't focus here. Now I can smile. Christmas. Merry Christmas.
Actually, Merry Christmas. It has been a year of wonderful shows. We did enough, beautiful. We had conversations with you. We enjoyed your company. As we take a short break for 2 weeks, we'll bring a bigger, better, let's be real, a bumper year next year in a big channel, KTN.
Cheers.
You're gonna miss us, miss the faces for a few days. But
Cheers.
we'll be back.
We're drinking water today and
And
preaching
Merry
wine.
Christmas. Happy New Year.
Drinking water and
Blessings.
preaching wine. Happy birthday, Jesus.
Samantha Wines, now available in all the leading wine stores.